So my last few years of coaching high-level guys to come here to Eastern Europe to 5X their lifestyle and meet the beautiful women of the region, the number one critical factor that allowed the most successful clients to meet the most beautiful and interesting women of Eastern Europe is their social circle. And that is what we're going to get into a little bit in this video. 5 tips I'm going to give you about social circle. And greetings. Bună seara from the capital of Moldova, Chișinău. So, hai mergem.
SAR Experience.
So the topic of today's video became pertinent also for me in the last month or so because I've come from Ukraine with the war to here in Moldova, and I haven't spent really much time in Moldova in the last few years. I did make a couple of videos, 3 it was almost 5 years ago here. By the way, this is the Arc de Triomphe, not just in Paris or in Bucharest. You also have one here. And well, actually I had a little bit of a cheat because a lot of other people from Odessa who I know actually also relocated to Chișinău, so I was able to hang out with them and plug into that network. Also, I still retain some context here in the city. But what do you do? Like a lot of my clients were faced with this particular conundrum when you move to a new city, or you come for maybe not just a weekend trip, because that's going to be a bit unrealistic to create a social circle, but you stay for longer, say a month in a city minimum. What should you be doing to grow your social circle? So the first tip I have is to tailor your social media, in particular Instagram. At the moment, for better or worse, Instagram is like a calling card, like a CV almost, and is a great way to express value to the beautiful women of the region, also to cool guys that you want to network with and get into a social circle with. Reading the comments below my last couple of videos, in particular about why day game is for losers in this region, I'm expecting a lot of guys who don't get why social media is important, even though that seems unbelievable in 2022. They're gonna say, oh, it's so superficial, I don't want to be on Instagram. Listen, it is 2022. It is, you know, this idea that you're just gonna be anonymous, not really gonna work. If you're trying to build a social circle, people want to see value. You have to be able to demonstrate it. Now, let me give you an example, because I did comment on the Tate brothers, in particular Andrew Tate, in the last video, and he has a hugely successful Instagram and social media. He's blown up in the last few months before I'm making this video, which is in August 2022. His social media is an example of how to attract young guys. He is flexing nonstop. He has the fast cars. He's there, he's jacked. Occasional photos, he has beautiful women, but it is not set up to attract beautiful women necessarily. And I would say it's pretty try hard, and that tends to turn off a lot of people, but I understand he also makes a lot of money from doing that and being controversial. So it depends what you're aiming to do. So that is an example of a social media profile or an Instagram profile that you can take a look at and not copy exactly, but get a good idea of what to do and what not to do. It's probably more the profile in terms of women that would attract a gold digger. Now, if you want a gold digger, enjoy yourself, knock yourself out with that. But most of my clients in the past, they were actually trying to avoid the gold diggers of Eastern Europe. So that is something that I helped. That's normally where I start with, actually, with new clients, is their Instagram or their Tinder profile. It's all going to be more or less a variation of the same set of principles. And if you want to get that sorted, then I can help you with that. And there is a link down below in the description to this video to my consulting services. Go check that out. Point number 2, or tip number 2, is have a good group with you. Your crew, going to be important, especially when you start off in a new city. Now, you might show up and you might not know anyone, and then you start to make contact. Normally a lot of guys fall into the trap of hanging out with other foreigners because they have something in common with them. That can be good. If it's a good group, and that's actually a maxim I have that I tell clients, is a good group is better than being solo, but being solo is better than being in a bad group. So let me explain what I mean by that. If you are hanging out with a group that doesn't exude value, basically isn't going to be the type of group that would attract people that you're looking to get into the social circle with. And maybe there's a lot of negativity in the group. I did have a client, recently a consulting client, he was describing who he was hanging out with, and they did not sound like the most positive group to be around with. That's probably why because he was also not super positive at the time, that's why he was hanging around. It was kind of more consolatory to be in that kind of group. That is not going to help you to meet either the beautiful girls or the kind of guys, that cooler guys or higher value guys in the new city that you were hoping to get into the group with. That's actually going to be negative. You'd be better off being on your own, just turning off neutral than being in a bad group. So definitely pick your crew reasonably carefully. I never recommend hanging around with people just to have other people around you, because it basically will end up dragging you down and dragging down your value if you are not in the right group to start with. So that is something to bear in mind. And I think it's a trap that I see a lot of just travelers or foreigners when they come to Eastern Europe. Actually, when they travel globally, they tend to hang around with other people that they met, maybe the accommodation or maybe on a forum. And only thing they really have in common a lot of the time is the fact that they're both foreign. Probably not going to be a good idea unless they are the type of foreign guy or the type of guy that is going to add value. So tip number 3 is get invited to high-level locations. So big events that attract people that you're interested in getting a social network with, high-value people in the city that you've moved to. Now for me, I had a few things that I did. I went to, because I obviously have a YouTube channel, so I would go to those kind of events that are to do with cinematography, film, YouTube, growing an online audience, and that would allow me then to meet other people who are in the same field who also are of high value. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a big formal event. It can be just going to the right type of places where the people you're trying to meet are hanging out. Could be the sports club, the gym you pick, for example. Could be just where you spend the part of your day hanging out in, if you're going to go to the right kind of restaurants, cafes, and other establishments throughout the city. But definitely either inviting yourself by paying to be at an event where you're going to be able to meet people who are higher value in the city, or getting invited to those events. Definitely a big thing that you should be doing to meet those kind of people and get into those social circles. So the next tip is make friends with women. Now, to many people who follow dating advice online, one of their biggest fears is falling into the friend zone. That's not what I mean here whatsoever. Let's be clear about that. But you have to realize that women are not just to sleep with, also be friends with women, and that will actually help you a lot with creating a social circle, because you can also get integrated into the right social circles. Also, that's going to display what's called pre-selection, which is that women through evolutionary biology are hardwired to value a man more who's in the presence of other women, especially beautiful women, because it's a way of them vetting that the guy is not basically low value or a psychopath or an axe murderer or something like that, something that happens intuitively. So definitely you want to also make friends with women, right? Penetrate those right social circles by actually being on amicable terms and in a social circle with women, as well as just focusing and having a group of guys to hang out with. And I'll give you a good example of that. I have a client who was living in Kiev, and he actually used to go on holidays platonically with women as well, not just with lovers, and actually go to destinations abroad with them where they would also be hanging around with the kind of guys and other beautiful women that he was interested in having a relationship with, and he would be in those social circles also then when he came back to Kiev. So that's actually what he did, and it was really, really effective. So I highly recommend that. It is not something that most dating gurus actually talk about, is having friends who are women. And tip number 5, I just want to emphasize that you must think about how you are going to provide value to your social circle, to the group that you want to be part of. No one appreciates a value leech. That's someone who just sucks all the value from people and doesn't give anything back in return. So you really have to be able to play some sort of role and provide value in the group that you're going to be in. That could be something very simple or it could be something very elaborate, but you definitely want to think about how am I going to provide value in that situation when you're in the social circle. Now, money can be one way of providing value, I guess, but really money is useful in the social circle in terms of buying you access to the right places. A lot of the time, you know, there's going to be a venue that costs a lot of money to basically maintain a certain social class or at least financial class, being able to gain access to it. And that's really where money probably comes in the most in terms of, you know, you investing in getting into, you know, it can be getting into the right club and having a table, for example, or being at a certain event and paying the ticket for it, or obviously sponsoring it, or whatever way you're going to go about investing in order to play a role in that social circle. And if you're interested in a bespoke plan to develop your social circle, either in the city you're in, the city you're going to travel or move to, in particular here in Eastern Europe, then down below, as I mentioned, is a link to my consulting. We can set up the plan together and put in some milestones in order to get you into the right social circles. As I said at the top of the video, it is the one thing that distinguishes the guys who have been my clients over the last few years in terms of meeting the most beautiful and most desirable women. And amongst my own social circle and friends in Eastern Europe, it's also something I've really noticed is the fact that they are able to mix in the right circles, and that is how they meet the most beautiful women, and they're able to display value a lot easier because they're in those right social circles. So if, just to close out the video, if you are not on my mailing list, make sure you are, because that's actually where I release my new programs to help my clients. I don't talk about them here first on YouTube. I actually talk about them with my mailing list, my most loyal fans. So if you're not on that, just make sure you are. Down below, there's also the link to the Tsar's hotspots for Minsk, Odessa, and Kiev. And that is actually some of the little tips about where you might be able to set up your social circle in those cities going forward. So go and check that out. That's completely for free. And I will bid you a farewell, a big la revedere from the city of Chisinau. And I should also congratulate that couple on their wedding. He's already spraying the champagne. Excellent way to close out the video. Bye-bye.
Tsar Experience.